Today's lesson is on reading, writing, and graphing inequalities. An inequality is different from an equality symbol. If you notice the two symbols on the left here, these are equality symbols. A number is equal to another number, such as x equals 3. Or a number could not be equal. 3 does not equal 0, for example. These are equality statements. To the right are 4 statements that represent inequalities. Less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. You may be familiar with these signs from your past years in math. How do we read these symbols? Well, this symbol is a symbol you've been reading since elementary school. It's read as is less than. So if we were to look at the symbol, we can see that if we read from left to right, this side is smaller than, it's less than the right side of this symbol. Sometimes your teachers might say the alligator eats the bigger pile of cookies. So if we have 3 cookies over here and 10 cookies over here, you can see that the alligator is going to eat 10. 3 is less than 10. Notice that this dot is a smaller space than right here where it's nice and wide. Less than or equal to would mean that it includes the number. So for example, x is less than or equal to 3. This line here suggests that it's going to equal the number. It's not just the numbers that are less than 3, it will include the number 3 as well. The symbol is read as is greater than. So if we read from left to right, we see this side is greater than the right side. Here is greater than or equal to, is greater than or equal to. We have this line here to show that we'll include the number as well. Let's look at some examples with the graphing. X equals 4. We remember we put a closed dot on the number 4 to show that it's just including the number 4 only. If we look at x is less than 4, x is less than 4. Now in this case, we're not including the number 4. So we're going to put an open dot because it can't be 4. It has to be less than 4. It could be 3.9, 3.8, it could be 0, -3, anything less than 4, but not the number 4. If x is less than or equal to 4, then we're going to close the dot to show that it does include the number 4 because it's equal to 4. For x is greater than 4, this does not include the number 4. There's no line under, so we have an open dot and an arrow to the right. If x is greater than or equal to 4, then we're going to have a closed dot to show that it equals 4 and an arrow to the right. X is greater than or equal to 4. Notice this line underneath shows that will be equal to. If we're going to graph this statement, x is less than -3. How would I do this then? Would I use an open dot or a closed dot? Because it says is less than -3, it's going to be an open dot. This is not equal to -3. It has to be less than -3. So the arrow goes to the left. X is greater than or equal to 0. Open dot or closed dot? This will have a closed dot because it includes the number 0 and it has this line underneath to tell me it's equal to 0. And our arrow will go to the right. For x equals 5, again we close the dot and put a dot at 5. X is greater than 1. If we graph this then, for x is greater than 1, there's no line, so we're going to have an open circle and an arrow to the right. This is read as x is less than or equal to 3. We did say or equal to, so we're going to close the dot at 3 and draw an arrow to the left. X is less than or equal to 3. Which inequality statement is represented by this graph? If you selected x is greater than or equal to 2, you were correct because this has a closed dot that shows me that it will be equal to, and the arrow is going to the right. Which inequality statement is represented by this graph? Well, we have an open dot at -3, and the arrow is showing that it's going to be less than. So x is less than -3. It is not equal to because the dot is open. X is less than -3. Which inequality statement is represented by this graph? This time we have an open circle at 0 and all the values greater than 0, but not equal to 0. So x is greater than 0 is the correct answer. Which inequality statement represents this statement? We can also take words and translate them into symbols. The cat ate less than 2 cups of cat food today. So the food is less than 2. You must run at least 4 laps for PE. Okay, so if you have to run at least 4 laps, can you run 4? Yes. Can you run more than 4? Yes. So you can run 4 or more. So you can run, the laps can be greater than or equal to 4. You're not supposed to run less than 4, but you can run greater than or equal to 4. Which inequality statement says you can eat at most 3 cookies? If your mom says you can have at most 3 cookies, can you have more than 3? No. Your mom is saying that you can have less than or equal to 3. At most 3. And that's all.